Want to become financially literate in 20 minutes or less? Watch this. Becoming financially literate is the best present you can give yourself and your loved ones. When you truly understand concepts such as budgeting, saving, investing, and retirement planning, you increase your odds of making your personal and professional dreams a reality. Watch this program to get the basics of money management so you can quickly mature into a clever spender. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I'm doing fantastic today. I hope you are doing wonderful also. And if you're doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee and let's roll. Today I want to talk to you about a very important topic, financial literacy. And let's first understand what financial literacy means. Now, managing your money the right way is a skill that benefits you throughout your life, right? And nobody can teach you that. Of course, you can learn some basic principles in school, but this is something you have to learn on your own through trials and errors, all right? It's very important to understand that financial literacy means that you understand how to acquire money, how to make money, you understand how to spend money, you understand the concept of net worth, so assets minus liability. I will explain that later on as this show goes on, and you will also understand how to invest money and grow your wealth over time. This is very important. Now, unfortunately, in America, you don't see this kind of topics in high school curricula or even college curricula, right? So a lot of kids graduate without understanding that. So financial literacy is just means money management, income, expenses, debts, assets, investments, and retirement planning. All of those things allow you to understand financial literacy. Another thing that's very important when it comes to literacy is something called savings. Of course, you know what it is. Savings is key because savings is not, as people believe, it's not the subtraction of expenses from income. No, savings is what you put systematically on the side. I will talk about it later on, but you need to have a clear picture of those concepts before we talk about other concepts, in this show later on. So financial literacy, very simple, money management. All right. The second thing you need to really pay attention to after understanding financial literacy is to understand where your money comes from, how you make money. Are you getting your money through salary and benefits, business income, dividends? Some people make money through interest income. Of course, if you have a large capital, you have a large portfolio, you can make money through interest, right? Let's say you buy bonds, or you have bought UST bills or US Treasury bills. You can make money through interest, or you have lent money to someone. Some people make money from betting, so they are gamers. You can also make money from rental income if you own property. There are other sources of income such as alimony, child support, and so on and so forth. It is very important to understand where your money is coming from, because with that knowledge, you can start thinking about increasing your income, right? A good thing about financial literacy is you will know how to manage money. You will know how to manage your money, how to make sure that you are optimally using your money. You're investing in the right fields. You are saving the right amount, and you are thinking about ways of increasing your income. And you can increase your income through several ways. You can have a side hustle. You can have a part-time job. You can work online. You can set up a system of passive income. We have an entire show focused on the topic of passive income. You might want to check it out. We'll put the link in this show. So there are a lot of ways to generate extra income. All right. So know where your money comes from. Now, the next thing you want to think about is, when it comes to financial literacy, is that you have to know where you spend your money. It's very important. Now, when it comes to expenses, specialists have different definitions, right? They have something called mandatory expenses. I'm talking things that you cannot live without. So rents, groceries, commute, travel, whatever, like going, commute to work, transportation, those are mandatory. And then you have discretionary expenses. As the word implies, the word discretionary implies, those are optional expenses. Those are lifestyle expenses, things you choose. For instance, you like to eat at a particular restaurant, or you like to eat out, you like to dine out twice a week or 3 times a week. So those are lifestyle choices. So they are discretionary. Other terms used in the financial jargon include living expenses. Living expenses is pretty similar to mandatory expenses, right? So we're talking about utilities, food, rent, or mortgage. And then you have something also called financial expenses. So this is interest you pay on outstanding debts, credit card, outstanding balances, loans, mortgages, student loans, car loans, personal loans, you name it. So this is very important. Now, after you are able to identify your expenses and categorize them, you need to calculate the percentage of mandatory expenses versus discretionary. Now, there's no ratio provided out there in the industry, but you want to make sure that your discretionary expenses are not higher than your mandatory expenses. In other words, because if you have, say, 40% or 60% of your expenses are discretionary and your mandatory expenses are 40%, that means you're living too large. You're living over your means because you're spending a lot of money, too much money, on things that are not mandatory. So you might want to think about it to reduce that and save more, right? Now, the thing here is that if you have to also ask yourself, can you live as a minimalist for a while, right? So minimalism just says that you are living with the bare, with the minimum possible. So, you want to sort of test yourself. If you're able to do it, that means that you can save a lot of discretionary income. You can transform a lot of discretionary income into savings, into long-term savings. All right? So understand financial literacy, know where your money comes from, and know where your money is going or where your money is spent. Will help you a lot. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still here talking about financial literacy. If you just joined us, please consider subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate it. We like to drop new shows every single day, and turn on the notification bell so you are notified whenever we release a new show. Comment below, share, and like. Tell us your experience when it comes to financial literacy, and let us, enlarge the conversation, expand the conversation. Unfortunately, financial literacy is not a topic that the authorities want to teach our children, especially in high school, where they start making some financial decisions. So we at the Sweetie Kiwi Show, we wanted to remedy that and start contributing to the public discourse around such an important topic. Now, understand net worth. It's very important. Now, net worth equals total assets minus total liabilities. What are assets? Assets are what you own, and liabilities are what you owe, right? So assets are things like car, fully paid car, fully paid house, your whatever you own is your asset. It could be your investments, your stocks, bonds, your holdings, right? Liabilities are basically obligations that you have to pay. You have short-term liabilities, long-term liabilities. Accountants like to differentiate between short-term and long-term. Short-term is something you have to repay within a year, and long-term is something it's a loan you have to repay. The maturity is over 1 year. All right. Now, be careful though when it comes to guarantees and co-signatures on a loan. If you co-sign somebody's loan, a lot of parents do this for their minor child or for someone who has a low credit score. If the primary borrower defaults on the loan, you are on the hook. So when you provide a guarantee, for a loan guarantee to someone, when you vouch financially for someone, and if that person, the primary borrower defaults, you are on the hook. So this is something you have to think about when it comes to liability. So when you put a list of your assets and liability, try to include your potential liabilities, such as guarantees and co-signatures on a loan. Now, when your assets are below your liabilities, then you go bankrupt. That's when you have to file for bankruptcy, because you don't have enough assets at that time to repay your debts, right? So this is something that it's more technical, but I'm sure you get the point. The point is, if you have no money to pay your debt, then you file for bankruptcy, and that's what you want. It's very important to match the timing of your income and your expenses so you don't get in debt. It's all about timing. Sometimes you want to buy something, you want to buy a car, but you don't have the cash for it. It's a timing issue. If you're able to put the timing of your income and expenses in sync, you have made a great step forward in eliminating debt out of your life. Now, you want to borrow strategically and productively. When it comes to debt, there is something called productive debts and non-productive debt. Now, productive debt is tied to an investment. In other words, it's money you borrow to pay for an asset, right? For instance, mortgage, car loan, student loan, business loan, medical loan, right? Medical loan is very important because your health is your number one asset. So you need to take care of yourself. A student loan is also an investment because you are actually investing in your future. You're getting educated, you're polishing your skills. So this is a great investment. Conversely, on the other hand, non-productive debts such as credit card used for groceries, you get a loan for a wedding celebration, for travel, those are not productive debts. I know people might be talking about, well, a loan for a wedding celebration is great. No, because even though you might be investing in your couple, there are other ways to invest in your couple. Because what if you just divorce 3 months after the wedding celebration? It has happened before, and it will happen again. So it's not a good investment. Now, you want to use credit responsibly, right? You want to use credit responsibly, know where your money is going. This is very important. And another thing here is when it comes to borrowing, treat your lenders as partners. So you want to communicate. If you cannot pay, you want to communicate with them. You might get a deferment, a delay in your payment schedule, right? Very important. Now, be a smart saver. Now, when it comes to saving, I like the rule of 50, 30, 20. So 50% goes to your mandatory expenses, 30% goes to your lifestyle choices, so such as traveling, eating out, and 20% goes to your savings. Make sure that you set up the savings automatically, right? Don't leave a savings account as your last financial priority. It has to be the first. And you want to set up a portion of your paycheck to automatically go to savings. So you set up an account so that every 2 weeks or every month when you're paid, or every week for that matter, you just put an extra $100 or $200 in a savings account and just make it automatically so you don't even see it. All right? I'll be right back right after this. Don't go. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you're having fun. I just love this kind of topics because I love helping people. I love helping people become financially literate, financially independent. This is a passion of mine. And talking about financial literacy, you want to protect your savings, your family, and your lifestyle. Being financially literate means you have to protect your savings, your family, and your lifestyle. And how do you do that? By getting the proper insurance. Insurance protects you and your family from the vicissitudes of life, right? Things happen, you can't predict the future, right? So you don't want to let a single adverse event wipe out a lifetime of savings. It has happened before, it will happen again. So you want to get, God forbid you get involved in an accident, you have like a 6 digits bill, a bill that is it's in $100,000. You're toast, right? And nobody wants that. So get as much coverage as possible. I'm talking health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. This is very important. This is the insurance that covers you if you become somewhat disabled and you cannot work. This will give you a certain percentage of your income. Car insurance, of course, right? Another thing when it comes to being financially literate is to set a budget and try to follow it. right? A budget it's very, very effective. You can create a small budget in Excel. There are even free samples on the internet. You can just download them and make things as easy as possible, right? I like easy peasy. Put in one column your income, your sources of income, and in the other column your expenses, right? And what you want to do is, one thing I want to mention here is that your savings should be part of your expenses. Again, you have to pay yourself first, so treat it as an expense, all right? And put it automatically. Now, budgeting entails that you're able to analyze and change your spending habits, because if you're able to monitor on a weekly or monthly basis your spending habits, you can even predict when there is crisis coming your way, right? Now, we have an entire show devoted to budgeting, so I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty here, but I just want to say that being financially literate is very important when it comes to setting a budget, and setting a budget also is a sign of financial literacy. All right. Number 9, plan for retirement. This is very important. When it comes to retirement, there are several ways, and you want to plan for retirement the right way. And if needed, get an expert on board. Enlist the services of someone who is well versed in financial in the finance industry, right? Like a personal financial advisor, for instance, will help you. And the sooner you start saving for retirement, the more opportunities you will have to grow the resources available to you, right? I'm talking about everything from your employer matching, 401k, your IRA, your any kind of vehicles that your employer is basically putting out there for you. You might want to take advantage of that. This is very important. All right. Another thing you want to think about here is that there are several ages that you have to think about. There's a timeline for retirement, and the specific ones are 50, 59 and a half, 62, 65, a big one where you are eligible for Medicare, 66 where you are eligible for full Social Security benefits, if of course you were born between 1943 and 1954, and at 70 and a half, you can start taking minimum withdrawals from most retirement accounts. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are about to wrap up today's show, and I talked to you about financial literacy today, and I spoke to you about several topics. I explained to you what financial literacy is. I told you to know where your money comes from, to know where your money goes in terms of expenses. You need to understand net worth. You need to borrow strategically and productively. You need to be a smart saver. Protect your savings, your family, and your lifestyle through insurance products. Set a budget and try to follow it. And the last thing is you want to plan for retirement. Now, this is it, folks. Now, there is a call to action. In every show, we like to give a call to action to our viewers. Now, you have to understand that everybody must become financially literate. I'm not saying you need to become a financial expert, have a PhD in finance, but you need to at least understand the basics of personal finance, right? It's important because it determines your current way of life and how comfortable you may be in your retirement years, right? So, through trials and errors, you are able to devise the proper financial path for yourself, okay? Now, if you don't have a financial background, things might be a little complicated at first, but believe me, it gets better from here. It gets better. The more you try, the more you try, the easier it gets, right? Again, for instance, when it comes to having a budget in Excel, for instance, you can start little. Don't try to be complicated. Just do something very easy peasy, right? One column you have your expenses, one column you have your income, and just do a basic math, all right? Remember, you can also hire an expert to help you. I'm talking financial advisor, accountant, wealth manager. All right? I will talk to you later. Thanks for listening and stay marvelous.